I have often said, and I say to you now, that the difference between the wealthy and the impoverished begins not in the purse, but in the mind. Mark my words. The man who is poor in thought will remain poor in circumstance, no matter how much gold you place in his hands. The man who is rich in thought will, in due time, command riches, even if you strip him of all material possessions today. I learned this truth as a young man, sitting across from Andrew Carnegie, the great steel magnate who built an empire from nothing but a vision and a mind trained for success. He leaned toward me and said, "Hill, if you wish to know why the masses remain bound by poverty while a select few rise to mastery, study how they think. The difference is there and nowhere else." And I tell you now, he was right. Most men and women drift through life like leaves carried by a stream, moved by the current of circumstance, blaming fate for their misfortunes and chance for their victories. But those who achieve great wealth, I do not speak merely of money, but of all forms of riches, are not leaves in the current. They are the current. They decide where they are carried because they have first decided who they are to become. You may ask, Mr. Hill, what do these people think that makes them so different? I will answer plainly. The rich think in terms of definiteness, abundance, and purpose. The poor think in terms of lack, limitation, and fear. One mind is a magnet for opportunity. The other is a prison of its own making. This is not theory. I observed it in Henry Ford, a man with little schooling, but a mind that could hold a vision so clearly that even the skeptics who laughed at his horseless carriage would later beg to ride in it. I saw it in Thomas Edison, who endured 10,000 failed experiments because his mind never entertained the thought of defeat. And I saw it in Carnegie himself, who began as a penniless immigrant yet conceived of a steel empire before a single furnace had been built. They thought themselves into wealth before they ever earned it. This, my friends, is what I mean when I say rich people think like this, and the poor never will. They do not wait for proof to believe. They believe first, with such intensity and clarity that reality has no choice but to align with their vision. They do not say, "I hope." They say, "I will." They do not wish for favorable conditions. They create them. When I wrote that whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve, I did not intend for you to take it as idle poetry. I meant it as a law of nature, as real as gravity. You will become the sum total of the dominating thoughts you plant and nurture in your mind. Think on poverty, and poverty will claim you. Think on wealth with a definite purpose and unwavering faith, and wealth will answer. Yet here lies the tragedy. Most people do not think. They react, they drift, they allow fear, doubt, and the opinions of others to dictate their course. They pray for success, but prepare for failure. They speak of wanting freedom, but bind themselves with the chains of worry and indecision. And then they wonder why their lives remain as they are. Mark this well. You cannot hold two opposing pictures in your mind and expect to achieve harmony. You cannot plant the seeds of failure and harvest the fruits of success. The rich know this. That is why they guard their thoughts as a fortress guards its gates. They choose what enters. They decide which ideas are permitted to take root, and above all, they cultivate one supreme thought, a definite purpose, a burning obsession to achieve a worthy goal. When I first sat with Henry Ford in his modest office, he told me something that shook me. He said, "Mr. Hill, if I had listened to the voices of the so-called wise men, I would have abandoned the automobile long before my first model was built. They said it was foolishness. They said the world did not need it. But I knew with a definiteness of purpose that what I saw in my mind was possible, and therefore it was inevitable." Ford understood a truth that most men will go their entire lives without grasping. Riches are first assembled in the workshop of the mind. The poor man waits for his environment to improve before he believes. The rich man improves himself, and thereby his environment transforms. Do you see the difference? One waits for a miracle. The other creates it. Consider Thomas Edison. 10,000 experiments and 10,000 failures before his invention of the electric light. What man, I ask you, endures such trial without quitting? Only a man who has trained his mind to see beyond the immediate. Only a man who has burned the bridge behind him and said, "There is no retreat. I will have my goal or I will perish in the pursuit of it." This is the mind of the wealthy, unyielding, persistent, possessed by the vision of what will be, not what is. I tell you this plainly, wealth does not come to the man who wishes for it casually. It comes to the man who demands it of life with the same certainty that the sun will rise. And if you have not demanded your share of abundance, if you have not written your purpose with such clarity that it burns into your soul, then do not wonder why it has not arrived. You are not yet ready to receive it. Andrew Carnegie, the man who taught me more about wealth than any other, had a secret. He called it the mastermind. He knew that no great achievement was ever the product of one mind alone. He surrounded himself with men whose knowledge, skill, and faith multiplied his own. When I asked him if this was a matter of mere convenience, he laughed and said, "Hill, it is a law of success. No man becomes truly great in isolation. When two or more minds come together in harmony, a third invisible force emerges, a mastermind. It is the secret to all empires." And yet I watch as so many of you cling to the illusion of solitary struggle, refusing help, refusing counsel, as if pride will carry you to greatness. Cast that illusion aside. Seek out those whose faith and knowledge exceed your own. Build alliances with those who will lift you higher. If you walk with those who speak only of scarcity and limitation, you will be shackled by their beliefs. If you walk with those who see abundance and possibility, you will rise with them. This is not suggestion. This is a command for your advancement. Choose your associations with the same care you would choose your destiny, for they are one and the same. Look at Walt Disney. That man conceived a world of imagination so vast that his peers called him mad. Banks turned him away. Investors laughed in his face, but he clung to his vision, clear and detailed, as though it had already been built. That, my friend, is what I call applied imagination, to see so vividly, so continuously, that the mind begins to treat the vision as reality, and the body aligns to bring it forth. And when one man believes with such intensity, others will eventually bow to his vision. Today, the world calls his creations magic, but I tell you, it was no magic. It was the simple application of the law. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Now let us speak of you. Yes, you. Enough of admiring others from afar. I ask you, what is the dominating purpose of your life? Have you written it? Have you burned it into your consciousness so deeply that you cannot rise in the morning without being consumed by it? If not, you are drifting. And drifting is the path to poverty, in wealth, in happiness, in spirit. This is what I command you to do. Write your purpose. Not a vague wish, not a list of scattered desires, but a single, clear, definite purpose, one that sets your soul aflame. Then read it aloud, morning and night, until it becomes a part of your very being. The rich do not hope, they know. And knowing comes from clarity. Stop saying someday, decide when. Stop saying if, declare I will. Do not whisper your purpose timidly. Announce it to yourself with the authority of one who has already won. Do you know why the poor will not think like the rich? Because they are prisoners of fear, fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of stepping beyond the walls they have built in their own minds. And I say to you, fear is the great thief of riches. It steals your will, clouds your judgment, and chains your potential. You cannot live in fear and expect to possess abundance. They cannot dwell in the same house. Drive fear out with faith. Faith in your purpose, faith in yourself, and faith in the laws that govern success. Replace every I can't with I will. Replace every thought of lack with a vision of plenty. This is the battle you must fight, not with the world, but with yourself. Let me tell you a truth most men will never grasp. The world you live in is not fixed. It is pliable. It bends to the will of those who dare to imagine boldly enough. That is why I taught and still teach the power of visualization. When I say, whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve, I do not speak of idle daydreams. I speak of an active, living vision so clear and so compelling that your mind cannot distinguish between what is imagined and what is real. That, my friend, is how you bend reality. Henry Ford saw automobiles filling every street when there were scarcely any in existence. Walt Disney saw castles and kingdoms before the first brick was laid. Andrew Carnegie saw steel cathedrals rising to the heavens before the ore left the ground. They did not merely wish, they saw. They lived in their vision until the world had no choice but to catch up to them. That is the work you must now do. Do you rise in the morning and merely react to what the world hands you? Or do you awaken with the image of the life you demand, so vivid, so detailed, that it pulls you through every obstacle? Tonight, before you rest, I command you, close your eyes and see yourself living the life you desire. Not in fragments, in full color. Where are you? What do you own? Whose hand do you hold? How do you feel as you stand in the very center of your fulfilled purpose? Engage all your senses. Let your heart race as if it were already true. Do this every day until that image takes root in your subconscious mind, until you're no longer striving toward it, but living from it. But let me give you a warning. The vision is useless without action. Faith without works is dead. How many men I have met who possessed a brilliant idea, who nurtured a burning dream, yet did nothing. They waited for permission. They waited for the perfect moment. And while they waited, their dreams withered and died. My friend, life will never hand you the perfect conditions. The road will never be free of risk. And so I tell you, act. Act while your knees tremble. Act while your hands shake. Act before you believe you are ready. The rich are not those who wait for opportunity. They are those who seize it and mold it into what they desire. Edison did not wait for the perfect laboratory or the perfect tools. He created what he needed. Ford did not wait for universal approval. He faced ridicule and pressed on. I myself did not wait for the world to welcome my ideas. I faced rejection, poverty, and criticism. And yet I acted. That is the difference between those who live in abundance and those who die in quiet desperation. The rich act with boldness, the poor delay with excuses. Which will you be? And when you act, let resilience be your armor. There will be failure. There will be nights when you will question whether you were foolish to even try. Good. These are the nights when your other self, that higher, stronger version of you, is forged. Abraham Lincoln faced defeat after defeat before leading a nation. Edison failed more times than you have dared to try. Carnegie came to this country penniless, endured humiliation, and still built a fortune that shaped an age. If they had surrendered at the first sign of hardship, you would not know their names. So why do you think you can have greatness without the sting of struggle? You must decide that no blow will destroy you. When failure comes, study it. Extract its lesson, then rise stronger and sharper than before. This is resilience, and it is not optional. It is the price of greatness. I will not soften this truth for you. If you cannot endure hardship, you will not have success. But if you learn to stand firm when the storm rages, there is nothing you cannot possess. Now let us speak of a force often dismissed, yet it holds the power to transform your state more quickly than any other: gratitude. A man consumed by lack cannot create abundance. A mind dwelling on what is missing cannot summon what it desires. Gratitude turns your focus from absence to presence, from poverty to plenty. When you give thanks for what you already hold, no matter how little, you open the door for more. The poor man complains and multiplies his misery. The rich man, even when he has little, gives thanks as if he already possesses more than he can count. And in time, he does. Do not misunderstand me. Gratitude is not complacency. It does not mean you accept a life beneath your potential. It means you acknowledge every resource, every opportunity, every small victory as evidence that more is on its way. Andrew Carnegie gave thanks daily for the men who worked beside him, for the opportunities America afforded him, for the very breath in his lungs. And the more he gave thanks, the more life gave him to be thankful for. This is a law as real as gravity. What you appreciate multiplies. Practice this and watch how swiftly your circumstances shift. And so I say to you, do not wait another day to become the master of your fate. Begin now. Write your purpose with such clarity that it burns. Visualize it until it becomes your reality. Surround yourself with those who will lift you higher. Act with courage even when fear gnaws at your belly. Be grateful, fiercely and daily, until abundance pours into your life. And when you are struck down, for you will be, rise with a smile and say, "This too is part of my making. This is how the rich think. This is how they live. And this, if you will claim it, is how you will transform your life from mediocrity to magnificence." My friend, if you are still with me, then I know you are searching. Perhaps you are weary of living smaller than you know you can. Perhaps you have felt that gnawing ache inside, the one that whispers, "There is more for you than this." I felt that same ache. It is why I left the coal mines of Wise County. It is why I walked through humiliation, poverty, and rejection with my head still high. That voice inside you is not a nuisance. It is your calling, and you ignore it at your peril. I will tell you something most men will never hear. You already have within you everything you need to become the person you are meant to be. Not one thing is missing. Not courage, not intellect, not worthiness. You are lacking only this: the decision to act as if you are already that person. When I wrote of definiteness of purpose, I did not mean a fleeting idea. I meant a burning obsession. I meant a purpose so sharp it cuts away every excuse, every distraction, every temptation to quit. That is what you must write down tonight. And once you write it, treat it as holy. Guard it. Protect it. Live by it. Do not let the fear of others keep you from it. Most people are too afraid to pursue anything beyond comfort. That is why they mock the dreamer. That is why they say, "Be realistic," when you speak your vision aloud. They cannot see what you see, and they are not meant to. Greatness has always belonged to the few who dared to be misunderstood. When Walt Disney was told his vision for a theme park was madness, he nodded politely and kept building. When Ford's peers laughed at his horseless carriage, he tightened his jaw and worked harder. When I sat with Andrew Carnegie as a young man, he told me plainly, "The man who seeks to please the crowd will remain part of it. The man who dares to lead must be willing to stand alone." Will you dare? I cannot promise you an easy road. If you want ease, go no further. Ease is for the masses who trade their dreams for the comfort of a quiet death. But if you want a life that roars, a life that echoes beyond your years, then listen to me closely. You must create a new standard for yourself. You must wake each day with a mind fixed on your vision and a heart fixed on gratitude. You must fill your ears only with voices that challenge you, stretch you, and remind you that you are capable of more than you believe. This is the true meaning of the mastermind, to walk alongside those who refuse to let you settle for less than your destiny. And when you are tired, as you will be, rest, but do not quit. When you fail, as you will, learn, but do not retreat. When the world tells you no, answer back with the faith that has carried every great man and woman to victory. If I do not stop, I cannot be stopped. That is not bravado. It is law. Consistency is the hand that turns dreams into reality. If you stay the course long enough, even the most unyielding mountain must bow to you. But you must begin. Now, not tomorrow. Not when you have more money, more time, more courage. You will not find those things while you wait. You will find them while you act. A man does not become brave and then take the leap. He takes the leap and discovers he was brave all along. That is how transformation works. And you, sitting here with me, are not meant for a life of hesitation. You are meant for a life of boldness. You are meant to be the one who inspires others, who shows them what is possible when a man or woman lives with burning purpose. I want you to leave here tonight with this thought engraved upon your heart. You are not too old. You are not too young. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are exactly where you must be to begin the journey toward everything you desire. The question is not whether you can do it. The question is whether you will decide right now that you must. There is a difference between wanting change and committing to it. One day you will not have someday. All you will have is what you decided to build today. Do not waste that chance. Close your eyes. See the life you demand. Make it as real in your mind as the chair beneath you. Write your purpose. Speak it aloud. Act as if you are already the man or woman who possesses it. And when the storms come, because they will, stand firm. Say to yourself, "This is my forging," and walk through. You will emerge not weaker, but refined, not diminished, but unstoppable. My friend, I cannot walk this path for you. No one can, but I can tell you this. If you take the first step with faith, if you keep taking steps even when the ground shakes, if you refuse to bow to fear, then one day you will look around and realize you are living the life you once only dared to imagine. And in that moment, you will understand the truth I have spent my life teaching. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve, but only if you decide, and only if you do. So decide and do. Begin tonight. Begin now, and do not stop until the life you see in your mind is the life you hold in your hands. If this message reached you, it is because you were ready to hear it. Do not let it end here. Like this video so that it travels to another soul in need of this light. Share it with your friends and family, for you may be the spark that rekindles their faith, and subscribe so you may walk with me on this great journey toward wealth of mind, spirit, and purpose.